What up, my peoples? Welcome to the Urban Gastradamus podcast powered by Chef Culture.
We are not just a movement, we are a culture.
My name is Chef Chad Cherry. I'm one of your co-hosts.
And I'm Karen PANDY-CHERRY. I'm your other co-host.
Today, we've got a lot of things to get with you with, right? So we're going to talk a lot about food, his Gastradamus, but we're going to talk about the busyness, right? The business of this game. And we're going to give you all insights from our unique points of view. As you know, I'm bringing it to you straight.
And I'm not bringing it to you straight, apparently, because
Really?
I'm sorry. So, we're going to talk about just a lot of different things. We definitely want to sort of reiterate the word culture. Because you notice we said we are not just a movement, we are a culture. We are so much a culture that culture is actually in our name.
In our name, Chef Culture. And you hear that term a lot, right? A lot of time in corporate speak, they're like, the culture of the company has to be something that is, Nah. We're going to bust this thing down to the core components, to what it means to us, right?
Yeah.
So
culture is important. Is important. I think when we talk about just excellence inside of the industry. Obviously, chef culture has to do with culinary professionals, but specifically, chef culture is the preeminent network for urban food and urban food professionals in the country. And so, culture for us starts with excellence. We are black and brown people, and we operate in a culture of excellence.
But I always like to say this, to me, culture is not a static thing, right? Like, culture is not a goal that it's not a target that you're going to hit once and you're there, right? It's a constantly moving target. Culture is alive. It's a living word, right? There are words that are alive if you want to meet them, like love. Love is alive, right? You can't just I love you, and because I love you, I'm always gonna love you. No, like you have to keep acting, right? Yeah. Culture, you can't just say, yo, I'm a part of the culture. You have to keep doing something. There are requirements, there are movements, there are upkeeps. Culture is alive.
So what are some of the things that our culture says, right? Our culture says that, one, like we said, we operate in excellence, but our culture also says that we help one another where there needs to be help. Right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes our culture says you look at people like, yeah, I'm going to have to let you learn that one.
Oh, no, for real. For real, which is why, culture being alive is sort of an important concept because it's not, you know what I'm saying? Just because we say that we help and we are of help and we are of service to other people, just because that's our culture doesn't mean that you can come and do nonsense time and time again and you're going to get that help. And we just going to let it roll,
yeah.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. When we say chef culture, we're trying to change the culture inside of the culinary industry for black and brown professionals, right? Like there's some truths that any chef would tell you about, like the fact that when we're out here serving y'all, we're not serving ourselves, right? There are just some things that have been built into our current culture that we want to see switched.
Yeah.
We want to see we want to see the whole industry kind of flipped over on its head, and I think that's almost a good segue to go into what we're talking about today. We always talk about, from the chef culture standpoint, of food as more than just food, right?
Like, yeah, I mean, a lot of times, people disregard the importance of food, where food has been central to a lot of our communities, not just black and brown communities, but just... If you think about like Italian food and like Asian food and Indian food,
it is
food coming from Africa.
Okay, hold up, right? See, food is essential to their culture.
Yes.
You see what I did there?
I see what you did there.
Point is, right? Food is a tool, right? I said this before. I was like, yo, our first social network was the dinner table. That's where we all used to gather around, right? Before we had Instagram and Facebook. Everybody, all villages, whole communities would meet and gather around the dinner table, and they would talk to each other. Yeah. And it was over food, right? Conflicts, resolutions, food, So, I mean, and it's funny now because I'm also one of the people, I'm like, listen, right? Sometimes a meal is just a meal. Sometimes I just need to eat something, right? And that could be anything. It doesn't have to be so serious. But I think we would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah?
No, yeah, I mean, we definitely agree. I was waiting for you to finish your thought there, but I
Well,
mean,
no, I was waiting for you to finish my thought. This is how
all right,
it's supposed to work.
so I'm gonna finish your thought. So,
Thank you.
Food it's more than just nourishment. I think even when we talked about the foundation of how we were going to build chef culture and how we were going to build our lives, right? Because this for us is our life's work, right? I believe that that this is our ministry. That
And you know what? You know what though? Hold on. I have to realize that. See, like I'm all the way in my head, right? And this is I know what I'm thinking. I know, in my head I preference a lot of terms. So when I'm talking to you, I'm realizing that I'm leaving stuff out. So when my wife says, this is our life's work, what is this? When we talk about food as a tool, well, why is food a tool, right? Why even bring that up? When we talk about chef culture, well, what is chef culture? Is it an organization? Is it an idea? I think we have to put some framework around things. And I think that starts with something that's crucial here to this conversation. So I'm going to talk about why. As a chef, I've stepped out of the kitchen more to work in communities and to be in front of y'all talking. I mean, I think I'm funny, but y'all may not. Point is, really, son? You see this, right? Okay. Point is, as a chef, my chef coach has brought me into many, many doors, right? Like catered for President Barack and Michelle Obama, right? That's still my president, forever president right there, right? So many celebrities and stuff like that. But what I noticed as well is that it was always my people. I'm talking about black and brown folk that were suffering the most when it came to food-related illnesses, diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol, cancer, like stuff that we could really change with food. And I had to stop and ask myself, well, what's my responsibility? I'm a type 2 diabetic. Most of my family are diabetics. And it turned out the answer to that was simple, was like, it makes me happy when I'm able to feed people. And if I'm able to feed people and keep them, healthy and build my community, that really brings me joy. But the problem is, I'm just me. I'm one person. So even if I make 100 meals in a day, how much of a dent is that going to make? If I make 200, 500 meals, right? So my question was, how can I spread that influence? And that's where my I guess and help me out here because I'm getting tongue tied. But just wanting to make a difference,
your
right?
desire, yeah.
My desire, and to not make a difference. Like, listen, right? If we are out here to live a good life, I want to do something I enjoy doing. I work every day. I work damn hard, right? And I'm not trying to be at work hating what I'm doing all day. And I remember specific jobs on the line. Being in the kitchen on the line, shoot yourself fast. The only good thing about that job is that
you got to eat.
No, you ain't even do that.
No, that's true.
No. You know what? The time went by fast.
Yeah.
That's the only good thing. You could work 80 hours and feel like you ain't really work because the time went by so fast because you're so busy, but there were no good things about it. I can't think of much.
That's actually, so I come at food being a tool from a very different standpoint because, food didn't have as big of an influence on me growing up as it did on you. I mean, I grew up in the Caribbean. I grew up in Belize. Oh, stop it.
She said food had a bigger influence on me growing up than it did her.
It did. I mean, obviously it did because when we met, I didn't know anything about food. I ate like the same things over and over. I ate like rice and peas, stewed chicken, potato salad. Like I had very specific things that I grew up with. I mean, I think when I think about food growing up, I think about food that came off of the trees, right? Because like as a kid, when we were outside and stuff like that, we got mangoes off the tree or sugar cane, you know what I mean? Or sugar cane, or like I would get plums all the time. My grandfather would give me heart of palm off of the coconut tree outside, or, like I'd get coconut. So for me, like that, it was more sort of the food that I would get off of the trees than actually the food that was prepared, that like my mom prepared. I mean, my grandma would cook every now and then and make like these amazingly like smashing meals, but like
smashing
smashing meals. She'd make like really smashing
I mean,
meals.
so what's changed though? Because you weren't like I was in the food. I went to college and started working. I've been in the restaurant industry for 20 plus years.
Yeah, no.
What has changed for you? Why are you here though? Like, cause you were, when I met you, I mean I got you with food. You know, I had to, do what I do. But
I don't know if food is how you got me.
I mean, yeah, a little bit of pimp too. I understand, a little bit.
Whatever.
A little something going on.
So yeah, so the food definitely helped. But I mean, I think my story has been a little bit different around food just because when we met, I was sick all the time. Remember?
Oh, I do. I mean,
not like physically ill to where like I was bedridden or anything like that, but food was painful for me. Right? I would eat. And
I remember I didn't understand how you didn't. I'd be like, yo, like I would get so excited about a meal. I'd be like, come on, we're gonna go try such and such, and she'd be like, huh? Like, yo, what do you mean? We're about to go eat such and such.
I mean, I thought that I thought like I had ulcers or something, and so when I met Chad, I was barely eating because every time I ate, like it would be like this intense pain.
But what brings you? Okay, so we got to a place where I introduced you to food and you were eating well, but that doesn't explain why you give a damn, right?
You mean about food?
No, not just about food.
Or about like just about
I'm
anything
trying
in
to tie it
general?
in. I'm trying to give people the context around why we
do this.
Yeah, why we do this. Why do you give a damn?
So I mean, I have to first and foremost say that like I'm called by God.
Okay.
I know that sounds like
nah, it is what it is. If that's you, it is
I mean,
what it is.
No, it really is what it is. Like I completely own my story and my reason for being, I think, because a lot of people benefit from the fact that I'm called of God, that we're called of God, right? But the reason why I have dedicated my life to this work, I mean, I think up to the point where I met you, I always felt as though there was a calling for my life that was not being fulfilled. Like I knew that God wanted me to reach people because people are hurting. When I watch like the news, when I read articles, when I see things on social media, the pain that people are going through of losing loved ones, having disasters happen, all of these shootings that are happening, people just being mean to people, that stuff, that energy is very like I'm an empath, so I feel like if I'm not careful, I'll absorb that. And so I just knew that I couldn't stand by and just watch things happen without doing something about it. And food became our way of loving on people. Like if you just want the bottom line, why we believe food is a tool, it was literally because we wanted to share the love that we have for God, the love that we have for each other, the love that we have for our children, the love that we share inside of our home. We wanted to share that with other people. And the best way that we had found to do that was through food.
You're right. I mean, I don't know, everybody has their things, right? Like for me, I wasn't, for years, I compensated as a chef because I didn't go to school and I wasn't classically trained, but I had something. And I knew people loved it, and it made me feel great to see people enjoy my food. Like real talk, like that was my drug of choice right there. And then to go out and to get in the communities where people would say, yo, there's no point in being out there, right? Like you talking to these folks, is going over their head. To get people to come back to us a year later, hey, I remember you introduced me to kale, and I'm still eating kale right now, and to see I remember Miss Ruby specifically. Yeah. When we met this lady, she's a senior citizen. Miss Ruby was, she was a big, grandma status, right? She had a couple extra pounds on her. We taught a class called Train the Trainer, which we teach frequently now. And we saw her 6 months after the class. And she's like, "Hey, chefs, how y'all doing? What's going on?" Da-da-da. And we're talking. We're like, you know, someone know you, but you don't know how they know you, but you know they know you. So you talking to them. How you doing? Good to see you. And in my mind, I'm like,
I don't really remember because
trying to figure it out, right? And she goes, "I'm Miss Ruby. I was in your class." Really? Oh my gosh! Like she had dropped like 60 pounds. And not just that, she had dropped 60 pounds. She got a job with the Y as a community health worker. She's working with other senior citizens. You know, a couple months after that, she competed in her first cooking competition.
Oh my gosh, which was amazing because she ended up winning, and I was so proud.
It's crazy talk because these are, we're talking about places like, you know, this was on Sistrunk, right? You're talking about places where they're like, oh, they don't want nothing healthy. You know, the assumption is that in communities, you know, heavy black and brown communities, all they want is fried food or fattening stuff or something else.
Which we found to not be true.
I mean, occasionally I want some fried chicken. I ain't gonna lie to you, but
yeah, but
you know, the thing is that people everywhere are looking to change their relationship with food, and I think that's where chef culture comes into play. And to bring it full circle, you know, sorry, but you jump in there. You had something you would say about that.
I mean, I wanted to actually rewind to something that you said, because you said food was your drug of choice.
Yeah.
And I feel as though something we don't talk about in our communities a lot is the fact that food can be positive, but it can also be a drug of choice.
Well, you talking about that one time when I sat down with that whole red velvet cake?
I wasn't gonna put your business out there like that.
It happened more than once, really, but still.
So I mean, I'm just saying. I think you know, when we talk about food as a tool, you know what I'm saying? Like you could use a hammer to put a nail in the wall that's gonna hold up a picture, but you can also use a hammer
for demo work. Ah!
But you can also use a hammer to bash somebody in the head with it.
Oh, I was just going with demo work. I was just gonna take down some stress. You know, I was just going in. But no, I mean.
So, I mean, I guess my question is, you know, where are the conversations about how we abuse food, about how we use food, not in the positive ways, but in ways, you know what I'm saying? Because like in the black church, in any church actually, right? We look at sin. We look at sin and we look at things that we shouldn't be doing, right? We shouldn't be doing cocaine. Some people say we shouldn't be doing marijuana.
Some people will argue with you about the cocaine thing.
Who's arguing about cocaine?
We in Miami, man.
Okay.
We in Miami.
But so what I'm saying is, right?
No, I
we never really talk about food as like, we never really talk about food as a drug as well, which it is.
See, this is what's interesting, y'all. Like the reason why we're having these conversations, there's so many things we talk about on a day-to-day basis. And I think with the Urban Gastradamus, I think what you can expect from us is detailed, deep, real conversations. We are going to talk about the black church. We're going to talk about food in it, right? We're going to talk about other chefs. We will have food on. We're going to talk about food as a tool. We're going to talk about building our community. Shoot, we're going to talk about just some insane things that we want to eat that we probably shouldn't. We're going to go a little bit all over the place, but we're still going to keep it in context of the culture and how we build a better food culture, right? Nostradamus, that guy, he did some amazing things. And gastronomy is the science of food, right? So we're pulling two things together with two totally different opinions.
Very, very, very different viewpoints.
And we're getting along today. We're playing nice in the sandbox today. But I can't promise it's always going to be that way. And I think that's what's going to make this interesting as we go forward. And it's so much to get out in this first episode. I think we just want to give you all a little bit of flavor of who we are.
Yeah. And food as a tool is always going to come back as
always going to come back.
So culture is always going to come back as a theme. Using food as a tool and how we have social impact is always going to come back as a theme. And then definitely, you know, some tips and tricks on being able to stay in business, thrive in business, thrive in sort of our family life, because that's a part of the culture as well.
That's the part, man. We're going to give you a lot more substance in the next ones. This was just more fun. Hang out with us. Make sure you come back, man. It's the Urban Gastradamus podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chef Chad Cherry.
Powered by Chef Culture. And I'm Karen PANDY-CHERRY. Thanks for listening.